thank you for everything you've done for me and for and by the way, the boss here, this man right here in front of me, has elected more people in the state of North Carolina to state national office than anybody. It's great to see you, man. Great to see you. A special thanks to GK. Look, before I begin, and you're all standing, where I come from, you keep people standing much more than 15 minutes, you lose everything. I want to make a comment at the beginning here because we have the finest warriors in the history of the world. That's not hyperbole. We in fact do. And what, notwithstanding all the, well, I won't characterize them, the things that the president's done relative to Syria, I just want to make a point that we're in a situation where we have the bravery and the courage it took for the Delta Force and our special forces to do what they did is enormous. It really is. It really, really is. And we owe them a debt of gratitude. They literally are, no hyperbole, the finest fighting force in the history of the world, best trained in the world. And we pray to God we don't have to use them that often, but when we do, they do their job like nobody else does. And I don't know a state that has a higher percentage of veterans and military people in this state. Everybody in this state who was in the military, raise your hand in this audience. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Folks, al-Baghdadi's death was good news for the United States and people around the world, but his corrosive message really hurt. But here's the point I want to make. ISIS remains a threat to the American people and our allies, and we have to keep the pressure on. We can't walk away. We can't walk away from our friends. We can't walk away from those people. And by the way, the Kurds gave 10,000 lives to end that caliphate. And we owe them. We had to be
darn right.
Keep our word. Look, folks, we're in the shadow of North Carolina Central University, HBCU. I want you to know, I like y'all, but I got to tell you, Delaware State University, I kind of I guess I got my political start. I wouldn't be elected to Senate. Most people think Delaware is.
We beat them yesterday.
think this is a northeastern state, but Delaware, we have the 8th largest African American population in the country in Delaware. And the HBCU in Delaware, as they say in parts of my state, they brung me to the dance. And, so that's where my loyalty is. But look, I want to say that it's good to be back with so many old friends. The state was critical in delivering the presidency for Barack Obama, and he sort of dragged me along with him. And he did it twice. He did it twice for us. And I promise you, I'm going to work harder than anybody since Barack to win the state of North Carolina. Win the state of North Carolina. Because folks, so often throughout our history, Durham in particular has been a shining example in the South. We won the South before, we're going to compete to win it again. But throughout its history, Durham has stood as a symbol for justice and opportunity. And a lot of people are new to the state, may not even realize. A century ago, the American South languished in the grip of Jim Crow, and there was Parish Street right here in Durham. It was the oasis of a thriving black-owned business community and was known as the Black Wall Street. And it gave people around the world, around the country, hope that maybe it could happen in our states. It was one of the very first examples of a flourishing, middle-class black community. But there's so much more work we have to do to deliver that promise to all of America. A place that offered a country a glimpse of what it could become if we chose to listen to the values we say we care about. Nearly 50 years later, Durham when I was a kid involved in the civil rights movement back in Delaware. Durham was a pioneer in the civil rights movement. Years before lunch counter sit-ins and the Freedom Summer awoke the conscience of a nation, it was here in Durham that the Royal Seven organized one of the New York symphonies at the Royal Ice Cream Parlor. And they all began it here. They were led by an extraordinary man, who we passed away in August, Reverend Douglas Moore. after a lifetime of service. So the rest of the country owes Durham. That period was a turbulent test of our commitment to our values as Americans. We're talking about the American creed we always talk about. You know, the American creed was a clarifying clash between love and hate that still exists. Even as we confront injustices in the present, it's tempting for us to imagine that violence and bloodshed of that era are a thing of the past. But we know it isn't true. The same poisonous ideology that struck down Dr. King pulled the trigger at the Mother Emanuel Church in South Carolina, where I was. Yeah. Saw white supremacists gun down innocent Latino immigrants in El Paso with military-style weapons, declaring, quote, it was going to stop the Hispanic invasion of Texas. And even today, we mark the tragic anniversary. It was 1 year ago today that a gunman entered the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh and massacred 11 worshipers in the deadliest attack on the Jewish community ever acknowledged in the United States. These forces of hate exist in every country. There are a minority of Americans, but they're still there. And to get into this race, I looked at why I should be running. And one of the reasons I concluded was after you saw those folks coming out of the fields down in Charlottesville, chanting hate, their veins bulging, literally bulging, and anger and hate, and accompanied by white supremacists and the Ku Klux Klan. I wrote a piece for Atlantic Magazine that said, we're in a battle for the soul of America. And folks, we are. I know you all in your gut what GK said. This election is different than any you participated in, no matter how old or young you are. It isn't just policies or agendas that are at stake. It's the soul of this country. The character of our people. No, it really is. The entire idea of America is on the line with this president. And folks, the words of a president matter. They can send brave women and men to war. They can end wars. They can't help us heal. But they can also unleash and awaken the worst impulses among the minority Americans. That's what happened after Charlottesville. That's where we are today. When the president asked to comment on what happened, he said there were very fine people on both sides. No president. No, it's not hyperbole. No president since Andrew Johnson, and not even him, engaged in that kind of racial and bigotry and hate. His words matter in smaller moments as well. Folks, think about it. Just 4 days ago, a president of the United States went on Twitter and referred to the members of his own parties, Republicans who didn't blindly support him, calling them, quote, human scum. Words out of a president's mouth. I'm even hesitant to repeat them with some of the young people that are here. That's what he called Republicans. History has shown that time and again, this dehumanizing language leads us down a path of unimaginable darkness. You know, that was the original sin of slavery.
It's okay.
And it was true in the century-long campaign of violence, fear, trauma that wrought upon black people in this country. And it is true of the quieter campaigns of bigotry, the subtle, unspoken injustices and opportunities denied, and futures diminished, and institutional racism that still pollutes our nation today. We are still in a battle for the soul of America, and this president is doing nothing but making it worse. It's only going to get, and here's the deal, this is what worries me. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. He's only going to get more erratic and more desperate as the walls of accountability close in on him. He's feeling the pressure as his crimes become exposed. He's feeling the pressure of an economy teetering on recession. Look, he inherited a pretty good economy from Barack and me. By the way, just like he inherited everything in his life. Now he's in the process of squandering it, just like he squandered everything in his life. Look, This country can overcome 4 years, but I believe if we give him 8, he's going to forever and fundamentally change the fundamental and alter the character of this nation. Look, in both clear language and code, this president has fanned the flames of white supremacy, flat out. And here's the deal. Our children are listening.
Yep.
And our silence is complicity. You know, Barack, I say Barack because I don't want to confuse him with this president when I say president. Barack Obama was a president our children could and did look up to. How many of you, not a joke, how many of you parents and grandparents, when President Trump is on, literally sometimes get up and turn off the television so your children can't hear it? And it's not about policy. Did you ever think you'd be in a circumstance where you do that? President Trump is a danger for this generation and generations of Americans. Folks, look, we're also in a situation where this president is trafficking through some of the ugliest forces that have long run through this nation's history. But this can't just be about campaign about how to beat Donald Trump. This has to be a movement. It has to be a movement. A movement grounded in our values and ideals that defined us as a nation in the first place. It has to be a movement that stands up for who we are and what we believe, because the rest of the world is wondering who we are now.
Yep.
We have an obligation to do more than just win. We have to repair the American moral fabric that Trump is shredding every single day. We have to be the Americans that once again values honesty, decency, treating everyone with respect, giving everyone a fair shot, leaving nobody behind, giving hate no safe harbor. Not demonizing anyone, the poor, the powerless, immigrant, the other. Look, leading by the power of our example, not just the example of our power. Standing as a beacon for the world. Look, we have to, remembering who we are, that there's things bigger than any one of us as individuals. We have to bring those values to bear not only to restore the soul of America, but restore the backbone of America. The backbone of America is made up of working class families, middle class families. In North Carolina, no, it really is. Look, this country wasn't built by Wall Street. This country wasn't built by investment bankers. This country was built by ordinary people having given a half a chance to do extraordinary things. My dad used to have an expression, he'd say, Joey, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. No, for real, it's my dad. If you listen to Barack, you'd think when we left Scranton, Pennsylvania, there's no work, you'd think I climbed out of a coal mine carrying a lunch bucket, scrapping Joe Biden. But with my dad, when we moved down to a little steel town called Claymont, Delaware, every time someone loses a job, he'd drill into us. It's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. Rebuilding the middle class is the moral obligation of our time, in my view. And we have to do it this time. It reflects our values. When we rebuild the middle class this time, everybody comes along. No matter their race, their gender, their ethnicity, who they love, where they live, whether or not they have a disability. We have to restore the fundamental dignity of middle class. How can a person hold on to their dignity when they turn and look at their child who's lying in bed with a terminal illness and wonder, and they have no insurance? How in God's name can you not think about it? How can you look at your child who has a pre-existing condition and know you can't possibly afford to provide the help? How can you look at a child who has an opportunity to go beyond high school, but you can't figure out any way how you're going to afford to get them there? Whether it's trade school, community college, or college. You get stripped of your dignity as a parent. Look, and how can a community maintain its dignity when their schools are substandard because they're not investing in them? When your house is undervalued? When the poverty rate for Black Americans is twice that of white Americans? And why? Why? When we rebuild our middle class, we have to stand for the rooting out a system of institutional racism that's in our policies, our institutions, and some hearts. Look, and it's within our power to do all this. We need to end the legacy of systematic racism in our neighborhoods, in our housing patterns, in our employment, access to transportation. You know, when I talk about rebuilding the middle class, I'm not talking about a number. Middle class, I have a lot of economists that work for me, and they're first-rate economists. And you'll say middle class, and they'll say, oh, that's 51,800 or 52,000. No, it's a value set. It's about being able to send your kid to a park and know they're going to come home safely. It's about being able to say, think about what it is. It's about being able. It's about being able to be in a situation where you can send your kid to a local public school and know if they do well, they have a chance to go beyond that school. It's made out about being able to take home your mom when your geriatric dad passes away and hope your children never have to take care of you, never have to be a burden to you. That's middle class. Just a little bit of breathing room. A little bit of breathing room. The middle class is getting killed. Right now, the view is, if the studies show that the average person got a bill for $400 in 1 month they didn't expect, they couldn't pay it. They'd have to borrow the money or sell something. How many people sat at their kitchen table today before or after church and said, I'm sorry, we can't get that new set of tires. You got to drive another 10,000 miles on it. We don't have the money right now. You know, 9 years ago, we fought like the devil and passed Obamacare. GK talked about it, so I'm not going to take the time to go into the detail, but look, healthcare is not a luxury assigned to people who just have money. I can remember my dad, when he lost healthcare, we lived in a 3-bedroom home with 4 kids and a grandpa living with us. I can remember being restless. Our room, my 2 brothers and I lived in one room right next to my parents' room. My dad was really restless. Asked my mom the next morning, what's wrong? He said, honey, he's worried. We lost our health insurance. Health insurance is as much about peace of mind as is your health. So folks, there's an easy way to do this. And I'm not going to go into detail because it's getting hot and you're standing. But I build on Obamacare. I provide for a public option, a Medicare-like option that anybody, if they don't have the money, they're automatically enrolled in it. I reduce the cost of enrolling in Obamacare so that you never have a deductible more than $1,000. I make sure that we reduce healthcare prices, our drug prices significantly. We can do it all for 1/50th of what a Medicare for All will do. We're not going to have to wait 4 years or 8 years or whatever the number of years or have some kind of pattern. We can do it now, immediately, on the job now. It also includes mental health. Mental health.
Yes.
Look, the last thing I'll say is that we also, if I'm your president, look, I'm not opposed to people making money. But let me tell you, as I tell every wealthy person in my state and every place I go, y'all don't need a tax cut, man. You didn't need the one you got.
No.
You're doing just fine. Corporations didn't need that tax cut. We didn't have to reduce capital gains to 20%. Guess what? If I'm your president, I'm raising your taxes and you're super wealthy. Because look, folks, everybody had to pay their fair share. Let's put the money toward ambitious plans to rebuild America, focusing on the future. Clean renewable energy, cleaner, safer, faster infrastructure, safer, more affordable housing. Will not only help confront the existential threat of climate change, but provide millions of good-paying jobs. For real, we're 10 million good-paying jobs. Not $15 an hour, but $45 an hour. So it'll mean people in every community can live in a neighborhood free from poison in the water and the air, in their homes, and get all that done and unify the country. Look, let me conclude by saying this. There's a lot I didn't talk about in terms of education and how we fund it. You go on joebiden.com before you collapse on this hard floor. But here's the deal. Folks, when I got elected as a 29-year-old kid, I'm the first United States Senator I ever knew. I got elected before I was eligibly sworn in, for real.
Oh, my.
I had to wait 17 days to get to be a United States, to be sworn in. And here's the deal. They always wrote about me as the young, idealistic guy, this guy who was optimistic, etc. I have never been more optimistic about America's chances to own the 21st century today. Let me tell you why, not hyperbole. We get this guy out of the way. We have the most productive workers in the world, 3 times as productive as workers in Asia. We're in a situation where, right now, we have more great research universities in the United States of America, in the state of North Carolina, than all the rest of the world combined. And every single solitary life-changing thing has come out of a research university. That's where it's come from. You own them. You own them. Businesses monetize them, which is a good thing, but you own them. Folks, we don't have the greatest, most powerful military in the world. We've led by example, and we're losing that. That's why the rest of the world has followed us. In addition to that, folks, we are in a situation where we're not only the wealthiest country in the world, we remain the most powerful country in the world, monetarily and physically. Here's the deal. Everybody talks about Biden says that China, if we do what we have to do, China's not a problem. Look, China's in real trouble, man. I spent a lot of time with Xi Jinping. I spent more time with them than any world leader before I left. We were out in a big town, 22 million people, called Chengdu on the Tibetan plateau. I have one person whispering in my ear, simultaneously translating, and he has one person whispering in his ears. We're talking to one another. We're dinner. And by the way, my guy took notes and handed them in, by the way. He looked at me and he said, "Can you define America for me?" I said, "Yes, I can." And I meant it. One word. Define America in one word. Possibilities. That's who we are. Once we've set our mind to something, we have never failed to do it. And ladies and gentlemen, everybody had to learn when they were a kid, even now, John Kennedy's speech about going to the moon. The line I use so often, my colleagues got tired of hearing in the Senate, when he answered the unasked question. He said, "We're doing this because we refuse to postpone." I refuse to postpone another minute. Making America what it needs to be, can be,